that's something we need to talk about too. Because last week we talked about EA wanting potentially bailing out and backing out. Well, later in the week, it happened. Not only did EA back out of making a college basketball game, despite announcing it just over 2 months ago. So not only did they back out, 2K stepped in and announced they're building a college basketball experience. A college basketball experience. And what I don't get, and this experience, from everything that we know, that I've heard, that others have heard, Matt Brown at Extra Points being one of the biggest, expect sometime in the winter, February, March, for college to be implemented in some way to NBA 2K26. Likely in my team. Likely in the my team mode. That is where things will start. I've reported multiple times that there's a belief at 2K that should all the licensing get taken care of, they could have a game as early as fall 2027. I still think, personally, I think that's really optimistic. I don't know if realistic, but they could do it. My problem stems from what they are going to bring to you. They say more than 100 men's and women's teams. The problem is there's over 350 of them. So you're going to have schools left out. And they say that all the teams and players will be paid fairly, blah, blah, blah. The problem is you're going to... who's going to be left out? How are they going to determine what schools are in it and what aren't? We know the big conferences, the SECs, the Big Tens, the ACCs, they'll be all in it. But what about the mid-majors? How are you going to have conferences in a game when you don't have full conferences? How are you going to have a 68-team tournament with only 100-something teams, roughly? How are you going to have this type of tournament? How are you going to have conference tournaments? How are you going to have a dynasty mode with recruiting? How are you going to do any of this with just 100 teams? All it does to me, all it says to me, is that these schools, I get being hesitant. I get it because it's different. Signing the exclusive license is different with EA for football because they've been building a football game and they haven't put out a basketball game since 2018, and it'll be almost a decade. It'll be a decade by the time the next one comes out. I get it. I get the hesitancy. 2K didn't sign an exclusive license. They don't care. EA wanted the exclusivity because in reality, the executives at EA knew they couldn't compete with 2K if 2K got to the market with their college game experience first. But I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe that's the case. I think even if 2K came out with a game in 2027 that features, say, 110 teams, even if they did that, EA comes out the following year, 2028, with a game. Every team, every conference, every school licensed the NCAA for the rights to March Madness and the NCAA tournament. That game would do better. I firmly believe that. These are just executives who are scared, don't trust their developers, and don't trust what they could build. And if you don't trust what you can build, what the hell are you doing anyway? What are you doing in the first place? If you don't trust that you could build a game, why even propose it in the first place? Why make comments about you're excited about bringing the pageantry back? Because if you really trust and believe in your team, you know, the developers making 40, 50,000 a year at the low end, the QA that you might still employ, the artists, the mocap guys and women, the producers. To me, that's a slap in the face that you don't trust who you have. And I get games take longer and they're more expensive to make. But you mean to sit here and tell me that this game, I know college basketball is not as big as college football, but you mean to sit here and tell me then 2028 rolls around, you have a game with every Division I men's and women's program, full-fledged dynasty mode, recruiting, online dynasty, all the bells and whistles that you said were going to be in this game. You mean to tell me you don't think this game would sell millions in pre-release before full launch? College football did it. Again, different circumstances. But this game would make millions upon millions of dollars in the early access window for a deluxe edition. Guaranteed. I mean, go back though, but when I talk about the trust and the belief, TP brings a good comment. They don't trust their consumers and their customers. Do you guys remember what I said about what the internal belief was that would have made College Football 25 a success? And I know many of you don't because you haven't been around that long. You haven't been following me that long. They viewed college football as a success if it sold around if it made about $200 million. It made 5 times that in pre-release. It became the best-selling sports game in the United States history. The history of the United States in gaming. The best-selling sports game. The MVP bundle that includes college football and Madden was the second best-selling sports game. And they didn't trust what they had with college football. And then they repeated the same thing with college basketball, announced a game that so many people at EA had no idea what was coming. They had no idea what was there. And they had no idea that EA was even working on it. They announced it because of a reaction to Matt Brown's article about the proposal. They panicked. They posted it. And 2 months later, they're out. 2 months later, they're gone.